Hey there, Rappies. Rapper9198 here, and welcome to another edition of Ryan's Day Reading. Today I'll be reading chapter 15 of Imprints, titled Rally to a Standard. So again, to start off, a little recap from the previous chapter. Opened Eyes, it really talked about the value of knowing from another person's perspective. And there was the story of Patrick's where he was talking about how he and his son Joshua, how they went to a ski resort, and there was just a time where they were sitting in the car, and then there was a song that came on the radio, and it made Patrick ask him what the message of the song was, and it was Leave the City by 21 Pilots. And so then, the lyrics, I'm tired of tending to this fire. I've used up all I've collected. I have singed my hands. And so Patrick asked Joshua what he thought the message of the song was there, and that when you're tired, just be done. And so then it made Patrick ask Joshua if he ever really felt like he was done and just didn't feel valued or appreciated, and he admitted to it. And it really opened Patrick's eyes to really know about his perspective in life, and also how that Patrick, he's an adult and Joshua was a child. They have everybody's views of the world are different. And so it really talks about when we listen and with a sincere desire to know someone's perspective, when we seek to understand the heart behind their ideas, beliefs, fears, and aspirations, we are participating in a remarkable act of compassion. So that's how important it is to really know someone else's perspective. And also, I remember that great message. We tend to not listen with the intent to understand, but we listen with the intent to reply. I feel like that's what most of us do. We listen with the intent to reply, so it seems like we understand, but we really should listen with the intent to understand and not with the intent to reply. And that's something else that I'm trying to get better at as well. All right, so now we go to chapter 15, Rally to a Standard. And then here's a quote from, Hideki, Hideki, Tojo, Tojo. Yep. I know, again, sorry if I mispronounced that. All right. Justice has nothing to do with victor nations and vanquished nations, but must be a moral standard that all the world's peoples can agree to. To seek this and to achieve it, that is true civilization. All right, so here we go here. Bodies lay everywhere, some friends, others foes, but all of them dead from days of war over territory, war over beliefs, war fought in the name of distant gods. The stench of stale blood filled the air as the clang of swords striking shield echoed all around. Men continued to fall as the battle raged on. Feeling outnumbered and wondering if they would soon be overrun, the soldiers heard a familiar cry rise above the sounds of battle. One they had etched into their hearts and souls, a cry that meant only one thing: they had to move. Each soldier turned to see his army's flag held high, anchored to a staff. They couldn't see him, but they knew a fellow soldier stood with that pole in his hands, waving it to capture the attention of his surviving comrades. That simple cloth on a stick was the Army's standard, a rallying point to bring all soldiers together, a place to unify the remaining forces, and the cry they heard meant every one of them was needed there now. In ancient times, this was a normal scene for soldiers. As men fought to expand their rulers' territories and take control of resources, conflict was commonplace. Rallying to a standard was a way to survive. It provided each soldier with his greatest chance to live and fight another day. Today, the word standard has a much different meaning. When a business or organization sets standards for the behavior of its employees or for how it wants to impact its clients or the world around it, it expresses the beliefs by which it chooses to operate, demonstrating what it holds dear. Churches do the same thing when writing doctrinal standards or publishing codes of conduct. But when we fix our eyes on the wrong standard, one set up to make ourselves look better or to give us the satisfaction of dehumanizing people we disagree with, the results are disastrous. Thinking about modern day standards in the context of war offers us some challenging perspectives. War has been a part of humanity's story since the beginning of time, often differing political views, conflicting ideas about human worth, and opposing ideologies rest at its center. Religion and politics have caused more division and sparked more conflict than any other two things since man drew his first breath. And that's what I've been saying all along. It's always religion and politics. Like, those are things people have different opinions on, and just because one person doesn't agree with somebody else, they feel they have no choice but to kill. That was in the case of Charlie Kirk. He really involved religion in his political views, but I know there was a lot of people who didn't agree with him, but there were a lot of people who did too. But there was somebody who totally disagreed with him so much that whoever, Charlie Kirk's assassin was compelled to do that, and it's happened way too many times. Case in point. I'm just with what's happened recently with Charlie Kirk's assassination, almost a month ago now, which is crazy. But yeah, remember that. Yeah, take that to mind again. Religion and politics have caused more division and sparked more conflict than any two things since man drew his first breath. But religion holds the darkest history because so much pain has been carried out in the name of love. Wow, again, I could not have said any of that better myself, and I think that's also important to really take to heart and make you think twice about that. You really got to think about it first. Like, don't just immediately think you have to act out in violence just because of a disagreement. Like, I know it can be frustrating when you have different political and religious views. I know, I get it. I get stressed out by it, kind of just hearing about it's a lot to comprehend and a lot to wrap my mind around. Yes, I get it. But what can you do really besides, killing is not the answer. It doesn't help anything. Killing or acting out in a violent manner in general doesn't help anything. It just makes things worse. All it does is it just tarnishes America's reputation. It really makes America not, it destroys what our image should be, what our motto is, or what we're about. It's caused us to not live to our standards. Like, we're supposed to be about freedom and equity under the law. And apparently there's just people who, you know, I'm thinking back to Martin Luther King, and like how he was, you know, he had a dream and he wanted to end violence. Whether it was in regards to race, to racial, you know, racial stuff, or, you know, whether that was the basis of it, but just violence. Like, he believed in nonviolence and really was proclaiming that. But somebody didn't, but I guess somebody wasn't agreeing with that and chose to shoot him. Again, it's just assassinations of these, you know, these big, these, human figures. And yeah, Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, and there's been, multiple assassination attempts, like on President Reagan. I know there was one with Trump, and then there was, most recently with Charlie Kirk. And again, I highly recommend you guys get this book, because I feel like if you read that, when you listen to that, I hope it makes you guys really think twice. Like, think about that and figure out a different way to deal with that frustration. Like, it's okay to disagree with somebody's, beliefs or political views, but remember, there's also so much more to life than just those. So much more to life than that. So please take those words to heart. Religion and politics have caused more division and sparked more conflict than any other two things since man drew his first breath. And yeah, that's heartbreaking. For millennia, the Bible has been used to justify the murder of millions. Yeah, and all these words that I'm going to read, take it to heart. For millennia, the Bible has been used to justify the murder of millions, situations where scripture was taken out of context and used to condone terrible human behaviors plague our history. In the days of American slavery, people used scripture to support the ownership of other humans. Men have used Bible verses to rationalize the subjugation of women and abuse of children. White supremacists have twisted scripture to give credence to their evil rhetoric. And hate crimes against LGBTQ people have been called God's judgment by the far right. The list continues with the bloody crusades, the Spanish Inquisition, the mass murder of Native Americans, and genocide in Rwanda. So many atrocities have been and continue to be carried out because the Bible tells me so. With the power of social media, news feeds in our inboxes, and instantaneous communication with people thousands of miles away, we are more aware of evil than ever before. And yet so many still act in ways that spread pathogens of hate, corruption, and deceit, all in the name of a loving God. This epidemic is as strong now as ever, and I could not agree any more with that. It's heartbreaking, all of it. Yeah. Any act that inflicts pain, fear, or misery on another human being is tragic. And no follower of a loving God, no one who believes in the life, love, and words of Jesus, should defend such behaviors. And yet many of us claiming to be Christians, finding ourselves doing just that. We need to rally to a different standard, one Jesus outlined in crystal clear fashion, leaving no room for misinterpretation. Every act done in the name of God, where physical or emotional pain is utilized as a tool, fear is perpetrated, or hate is justified, is not God-breathed, regardless of the scripture quoted. Jesus made this very clear in a few short sentences when a Pharisee tested his understanding of Scripture. The words Jesus used in Matthew 22 completely turned the religious world upside down. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Matthew 22, verses 36 through 39. The two greatest commandments, according to Jesus, are simple. Love God, love others. That's it. Or is it? These are wonderful words to live by. But to stop reading this passage here would do a disservice in the intention of Jesus' words. In verse 40, he continues, all the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. This is a statement of profound importance, and yet it is often overlooked. Many theological experts point to this passage as referencing all the teachings of the Bible. All, not some. This includes the ones we use to make us feel okay about judging our neighbor, the ones we use to make ourselves feel better about our hate-filled rhetoric toward other religions or people who live their lives differently than we do. This includes the scripture verses used to defend the horrors of immigrant separation, torture, misogamy, homophobia, racism, and the host of other deplorable behaviors that plague the past and present of the Christian church. And this includes the ones we use to justify our contempt for those we consider backwards, intolerant, and hate-filled. Jesus is giving the Pharisees and every reader of the scriptures the single most important standard by which to live. The only rallying point that can effectively press back against the darkness. By Jesus' standard, every passage, every teaching, every prophet, and every law should be examined and applied through the lens of a loving God, through the lens of loving God and loving others. So, for a church to follow Jesus means that every piece of scripture, every story, every verse must be viewed through his words, Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. These aren't our words. These are the words of the very man every Christian church claims to follow. A disease of hate runs deep in our nation's bones. Yeah. It's permeated our psyche and can be found everywhere, from water coolers to coffee shops to pulpits to political rallies. Hate is often in the driver's seat on both sides of any issue, creating deeper and wider lines of separation. And Jesus' two simple commands are the only things that will remedy this epidemic. But what does this kind of love look like? If we return to Jesus' teachings in Matthew, we get a pretty clear picture of love as God intended. The king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." Then the righteous will answer him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the last of these my brothers, you did it to me." Matthew 25, verses 34 to 40. Feed the hungry, welcome the stranger, clothe the naked, visit the sick and imprisoned. When we do these things, not only are we loving those around us, we are actively displaying our love for God. But so often, we get wrapped up in differing sides and miss the opportunity to love. We spend so much time focused on the whatabouts. What about the way others have treated me? What about the right or the left? What about the wrongs of past administrations? What about what he or she said? These are just distractions from the real problem. Distractions that divert our focus from the darkness lurking in our hearts, a darkness that allows us to turn a blind eye to the pain and suffering of others, or, worse yet, inflict pain and suffering on others, justifying a doctrine of hate by twisting a gospel of love. But it doesn't have to be this way. Seriously, it does not have to be that way. And for many, it's not. Every day, in every town, in every country, there are people who challenge themselves by asking, are my words and actions motivated by love? Is the life I'm living motivated by love? Around the globe, there are many people doing great things that seem to get lost in the sea of fear and negativity. But still, they fight back against the darkness with light. These are people who take Jesus' words and his mission and apply them to every aspect of what they do. And the result is a beauty we should all seek. Because when we do this, so much more becomes possible. Embracing our call to love as God does is amazing to witness. It's what makes things like shelters for women and children possible. This kind of love takes people to the mission field to meet the needs of the broken. It's what gives each of us the strength to slow down and walk with others in their pain. When churches and organizations lead in this kind of love, with pure motives, the church shines like a city on a hill, a light that no darkness can extinguish. As we build relationships, families, organizations, and communities, we must take care what kind of pieces we put in place. We must use Jesus' teachings as the guide for how, when, and what we build with. To be a Christian is to follow Christ's teachings, not those of any human. To be a Christian is to use those teachings as the standard for each decision we make, for the actions we choose to support. When this is our rallying point, the place we run to in life's battles, we live by a standard defining by loving God and loving others, no exceptions. All right, and that concludes chapter 15. Oh my gosh, that's like a chapter that's like really expresses exactly how I feel when it comes to with everything going on in the world, especially with all these politically motivated acts of violence. Like, it couldn't be expressed better in that chapter. Yeah. Again, as we build relationships, families, organizations, and communities, we must take care what kind of pieces we put in place. We must use Jesus' teachings as the guide for how, when, and what we build with. Yep, I love that. Could not have said any of that better myself. I love that. Yep. Yeah, so I hope that, I think that really serves as a lecture to all of us. And again, I don't consider me, I consider me living up to those standards, because I am always very careful about what I say, and I always think before I say it, and everything I say and do is with good intentions. And I do it out of love, because I do it, out of love and care. Because I do love and care, especially with, with my job, working with people with disabilities. Having to think about what is important to them and also what's important for them. Like, I want to help fit, what their desires and what their wants are, but at the same time, we also have to think about what they need. It may not be something they want, but it's something necessary, and it helps them. It's supposed to what helps keep them healthy and promotes a healthier healthier lifestyle, and it just promotes healthiness. Promotes health. Sorry, I know that's a bad grammar there, but I'm really just in the moment. I want to really say what I want to say here and know how I want to say it. Again, that's why I have to pause once in a while when I speak about this stuff. But again, I do hope people take that to heart. That's probably my favorite chapter now so far, at least so far in this book. There's only 2 more chapters left in this book, so, and again, I like all the messages that each chapter alone has. So yeah, it's, again, such a powerful book here, and I highly recommend it to you guys. I can't express it enough. All right, well, thank you, Rappies. Hope you guys, again, enjoyed that, and hope you guys really took that all in. Please. Just help them. Help, God. Please, just help. And I want to help spread these messages here. I want people to see this and really take that stuff to heart and help reduce the amount of violence going on in this poor country. Okay. Well, yeah, hope you guys like that. Thank you very much again. I greatly appreciate it. All right. Stay tuned next time when we go into chapter 16, Broken and Beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Rappies, again. Love you all very much. Appreciate all of you. God bless all of you. I really mean that. Until next time, I'll see you later. All right. Bye.